I've been working through just slowly the book of Ecclesiastes, Kohelet, looking at the Hebrew and specifically the inductive Hebrew grammar. I'd like to go back over that for just a moment, or beginning, I should say, where we stopped. We did the introduction last time, and I'm trying to read the Hebrew slowly and then look at the grammar inductively. We have seen, after the brief introduction in verse 1, the author's, can I say, statement of the theme in the introductory section, then from verse 2 going down to where we stopped at verse 11. And so now I would like to pick up at verse 12 to 18, which we're going to see now. He's going to try different things. First of all, he's going to search for wisdom and the vanity of the search for wisdom. What I may do is just give a brief vocabulary and then pick up where we need to go in our inductive study. Looking at vocabulary, Kohelet simply is the collector of sentences, or we could say one who addresses an assembly. Yitron, we had seen in verse 3, means profit or advantage. Amal means labor, hard toil. Zarach means to rise. And as we continue down to verse 11, I'm just listing some of the vocabulary. Darom, or sha'af, means to pant. We talked about how the sun seems to pant to go from where it arose. Darom means south. Yageh, weariness or weary. Kavar, already. Zikaron, remembrance or reminder. And then we pick up in verse 13 and following. Tur means to explore. Inyan means occupation or task. Ana, to be occupied with, to be busy with. Ra'ut means striving or longing. And ut, again, we'll come to that grammatically in verse 15. And we'll see it as a puel, a participial form. And then takan means to make straight or to become straight. Hesron means a thing lacking or deficiency. Mana, to count. Holelot, madness. Siklut, folly. Rayon, striving. And then ka'as is vexation or grief. And machov is pain, like mental pain or mental anguish or pain. By the way, a book that can be very helpful and is helpful to me on vocabulary, just giving a list, I should say, and I've shared this before, is a Reader's Hebrew English Lexicon of the Old Testament by Armstrong, Busby, and Carr. Very helpful in giving vocabulary. I would like now to go in to each verse, beginning at verse 12, reading it slowly in the Hebrew, followed then by a little study of the grammar, looking at the grammar inductively. That is, looking at each word in the verse as we come to it. In that way, to try to pick up grammar. The purpose of this is to not only read the Hebrew text, but to understand the power of what it's saying, as well as the grammar, which I think is eminently important. And then I want to make New Testament application to Christ as we come to the end of this section, verses 12 to 18. So we begin. Ani kohelet hayiti melech al Yisrael Berushalayim. I, the Kohelet, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem, or I was king over Israel in Jerusalem. Ani is your personal pronoun, first person. Kohelet, as we have seen, is your participle, your cow participle, feminine singular. Hayiti is your cow, a perfect, first common singular from Haya. Al Yisrael, al is just your preposition over Israel and Jerusalem. So we're looking at, I believe, in my understanding, at Solomon, who had been king and who was king over Israel in Jerusalem, writing about his search. So in verse 3 or verse 13, it reads, Venatati et libi lidrosh velatur b'chokma al ko asher na'aseh tachat hashemayim hu inyan ra natan Elohim livnei ha'adam la'anot bo. That is, I applied or I gave my heart to seek and to search with wisdom concerning all which is done under the heavens. It is a sore task which God has given to the sons of men to afflict them in it. Notice the natati, and I gave. Natan is the cow perfect, first common singular from Natan. Notice the final noon has doubled with the affix or the T affix, showing that we're looking at a first person singular. Natanti became Natati with the doubling of the tav, in that the noon assimilating. So I gave my heart to seek. Notice lidrosh is from darash, to seek. It's a cow infinitive construct. And then velatur, and to search. Again, we have another cow infinitive construct from tur, and meaning to search out with wisdom, ba chokmah, the inseparable preposition ba, followed by chokmah, wisdom, with wisdom concerning all which is done, na'aseh tachat hashemayim. Notice na'aseh is from the root asa, to do. It's the nifal, perfect, first or third masculine singular from asa. That is, all which is done. Notice the noon is indicating a nifal stem under the heavens. It is a sore task. In other words, it is something that is not easy. It's painful. God has given, notice Natan Elohim. Natan is the cow, perfect, third masculine singular. God has given livnei ha'adam la'anot bo, to the sons of men. Notice livnei, b'nei is in construct with ha'ish, to the sons of men, two nouns in construct. La'anot, to afflict them in it. Notice ana is the root, and here we have a lamed hey root, and we're looking at a cow infinitive construct. So God has given to the sons of men to afflict them in it. One of the things that he wants to say is, in his search for wisdom, he found that it brought in the final end affliction for his soul. And we'll see why as we read on. Notice verse 14. Ra'iti et kol hama'asim שנעשו תחת השמש, והנה הכל הבל, ורעות רוח. I have seen all the work which is done under the sun, or which are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and a striving of the wind, or a striving after the wind. Notice ra'iti is the cow perfect, first person singular from ra'ah. So I saw, or I investigated all the works. Notice ma'asim is the masculine plural, and it's from ma'asa, meaning work. So I have seen all the works, shenna asu, which is done. Notice na asu is the nifal perfect, third person plural, or third common plural from asa. So I've seen all the works which are done tachat hashamish, the preposition tachat, under the sun, v'henei hakol hevel, and behold, all is hevel. There we have that theme again. All is fleeting, vanity, u'ra'ut ruach. All is vanity and a striving after the wind. In other words, it all is like trying to catch the wind. And what do you have if you try to catch the wind? You don't have much. And I think this is what the Kohelet is saying. Then he gives a proverb to drive home his point. Me'uvat lo yuchal litkon, v'chezron lo yuchal lehimanot. That is, that which is crooked is not able to be made straight, or to make straight. And that which is lacking is not able to be numbered. Notice me'uvat here is a puel participle from the root ut. It's masculine singular. So that which is crooked is not able, lo yuchal. Notice yuchal is the cow imperfect, third masculine singular from yachal, to be able. So that which is actually bent or crooked is not able, litkon, to make straight. Notice litkon is the cow infinitive construct from tikan, to make straight, is not able to make straight. V'chezron lo yuchal lahimanot, and that which is lacking, v'chezron, is not able, lo yuchol lahimanot, is not able to be numbered. Notice here that which is lacking, chezron, lo yuchal, and here we have yuchal again, the cow imperfect, third masculine singular from yachal, to be able. And then we have the infinitive construct in the nifal, lehimanot, that is to be numbered. Notice mana is the noun meaning to number, and here we have a hey prefix followed by the dogish and the mem. And so what has happened historically in this nifal infinitive construct, hin manot becomes him manot, where the noon by progressive assimilation has gone into the mem. And the root is mana, a lamed hey root. So this nifal infinitive construct form here is saying that what is lacking cannot be numbered. In other words, when you have knowledge, what is crooked, you're not always able to straighten out. And what is lacking, you can't find the number needed to complete it. For example, if we want to get to 10, we have 7, but we can't find 3 to get to 10. So what is lacking, you cannot be numbered. So knowledge leaves me with things that I know that are crooked, but I'm not able to straighten it out. And leaves me with a gap. I want to get to 10, but I have 7, I can't find 3. And so what is lacking, I can't actually figure that out, I think he's saying. And then he goes on in verse 16. That's why knowledge alone will not satisfy. It gives you insight, but it doesn't give you a way to solve it a lot of times, the Kohelet is saying. So verse 16, as we move on then, Dibarti ani, im lebi lemor, ani, hene higdalti vehosafti chokmah, al kol asher haya lefanai al Yerushalayim, v'lebi ra'a arbe chokmah v'da'at. And so I spoke with my heart, saying, behold, I have gotten more wisdom, or I have become great and gotten more wisdom above all which were before me in Jerusalem, over Jerusalem. And my heart had great experience, or much, literally, I saw much wisdom and knowledge. In other words, I had great experience in wisdom and knowledge. I saw it all, but it still is not going to satisfy, he says. Notice as we go on then, Dibarti is a PL, a perfect first common singular from dabar, to speak. And so when he says, I've spoken with my heart, or I spoke with my heart, I think he's looking at meditation. I'm thinking, I'm meditating. That's the way the Hebrew often describes the idea of giving mental thought to something. So I spoke with my heart or my mind, saying, notice lemor is a cow infinitive construct from amar. So I spoke with my heart, saying, ani hine higdalti. Behold, I have higdalti. Notice higdalti is the Hifil perfect first common singular from gadal, meaning to be great or to make great. So I have made great in what I've been doing in this search for wisdom. The hosafti chokmah. Hosafti is a Hifil, a perfect, again, first common singular from yasaf, which means to increase or to add. So I have added wisdom, and I have become great in doing that. Above all, al kol asher haya, above all which were before me. Notice all which came before me. Haya is the cow perfect third masculine singular from haya, all which came before me. And lifnei is simply your preposition, literally to my face, but it means before me, over Jerusalem. And indeed, my heart, ra'ah, saw, notice ra'ah, again, is the cow perfect third masculine singular from ra'ah. And harbe is a Hifil infinitive absolute. So my heart saw much wisdom. And the idea here, it has an adverbial effect. My heart saw much wisdom and knowledge. In other words, I really gained a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and human understanding, the Kohelet is saying. Then in verse 17, as we read on, it says, Etana libi lada'at chokmah v'da'at Holelot v'siklut yadati shagam zehu ranyon ruach. That is, I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know folly and madness, or we could say to know madness and folly. And I really now have come to perceive that indeed this is a striving after the wind. You know, it's like chasing the wind. If you have trying to catch it, what do you have after you catch it, is really what he's saying. So notice verse 17 of etana is from I gave, from the root natan, and here we have a cow, imperfect, first person singular, with the vav conversive. And so I gave. Notice the imperfect here becomes past with the vav, with the comments underneath the vav here. So it's a vav, a hafik, or a vav conversive, or a vav consecutive, which makes the imperfect, instead of futuristic, puts it into the past. So I gave my heart lada'at, to know. Notice lada'at is the infinitive, the cow infinitive construct from yada. And in this infinitive construct, we lose the yod of yada. So to know, and I think he's really saying to know it intimately, and to know wisdom, and to know the da'at folly, to know the opposite of wisdom. In other words, to know all sides is what he's saying. And notice again, we have the cow infinitive construct repeated, and to know madness, we could say, and folly. Holilot, madness, v'siklut, and folly, the opposite of wisdom. And I know, having done this examination, he says, yadati, that indeed this is like chasing the wind. Yadati is the cow perfect, first common singular from yada. And why is all of this chasing the wind? Because I can't put it all together. I have wisdom, but I'm not able to put the pieces together in human wisdom. So then we move on to verse 18, and it reads, Ki berov chokmah rav ka'as, ve'yosif da'at yosif machov. Machov. Notice, for in much wisdom is much vexation, and the one who increases knowledge increases pain or sorrow. He gives another proverb to describe why human wisdom does not satisfy. Notice verse 18 then, for in much wisdom is much vexation, because I understand, but I can't solve what I'm trying to gain wisdom to understand. And then as he goes on, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Notice Yosef here is from Yasaf, meaning to increase or to add. And here we have the Hifil, notice imperfect, third masculine singular from Yasaf. Historically, this would have been a pei vav verb, vasaf. And we know that because we have this holem vav following the yod of the prefix. And historically, it would have read something like yal sif, where you would have had an AW, a pathak, a W, going into a long holem vav. in historical Hebrew grammatical development. So this is clearly a hifil here, and it's imperfect third masculine singular from yasaf, meaning to add to or to do something again. So the one who increases knowledge, and we have the same form again, increases, hifil imperfect in both of these, third masculine singular, increases pain. In other words, with all of my knowledge, it only increases my pain because I know I know more, but I can't solve the riddles of life. That's the problem. And therefore, knowledge alone will not satisfy. And I would like now to make a New Testament application. When I read the New Testament and I read what Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, he says that all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are hidden in Christ. And so, as I've thought about this text, to me, reading the New Testament, I'm told that the real wisdom and treasures are found in Jesus Christ. And I think what a wonderful answer to the Kohelet. If we go after human wisdom, we're not going to find the ultimate answer, no matter how brilliant people might be, because the bottom line is there's always something lacking. And even people who are very smart, it's normally in one very narrow field that they've spent their life. And as a result, the wider area of knowledge is lacking. But even if someone has all kinds of knowledge in many, many areas, there's still a lack. That's what the Kohelet is saying. And I've increased more than anyone else, he says. But when it's all said and done, what is crooked, I can't make straight. What is lacking, I can't find the number. I have 7, I can't get 3 to get to 10. And therefore, I find that all of my wisdom hasn't helped me. It's only given me pain. I only see the problems, but I can't solve them. I only see what's crooked, but I can't make what is bent straight. But the beautiful thought of the New Testament is that in Jesus Christ are all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge hidden.